Your textbook gives you a checklist for doing what's called the Rogerian strategy, and this can be helpful. I'm just briefly going to go over kind of the specifics of what the Rogerian strategy can entail. The first one is to make an effort to understand the opposing viewpoint. So you may start off with thinking about what is the main viewpoints of the opposition. So what do they think, or what do they believe, and why do they believe it? So first of all, try to make an effort to understand this, and this is where your research may come in handy. Sometimes we may think we know all there is about those who disagree with us, but sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes we really don't know what people believe or why they believe it. So first of all, in doing your research, you need to make an effort to try to understand what they believe, why they believe it. And then next, start off your essay with a statement of what they believe. Let your audience know that you've done your research, that you've done your homework. This really boosts your ethos or your credibility, because you're letting your audience know that you know what you're talking about, that you know the different points of their side of the story. And then next, when appropriate, you can acknowledge the validity of some of those points. Now, if they have a good point, acknowledge it. That's okay. It's okay to do that, because in the end, you're still going to show how your argument is still superior. So you may have to concede a point or two. That's okay, because in the end, you're still going to win the war. Next, point out areas of common ground. That's the bridge building that I discussed earlier. What are things that you have in common? What are positions that everyone can agree on? And then finally, you're going to present your position. Present the evidence that backs up your position. So presumably, the strategy here is to soften up your audience first by letting them know that you do know their position, letting them know that some of their points are valid, letting them know that the areas that you have in common are the common ground, and then once they're softened up, then you hit them with the bulk of your argument, which is your viewpoint and the evidence that backs it up. Now, you're also going to have to refute the differing viewpoints. What that means is you point out the different points of the oppositional argument, and then you tackle them one by one and show the flaws. How there's a flaw either in the reasoning or some way that it just doesn't quite make sense, or a way that your viewpoint is superior to that particular point. You can do this using the organization that we use for our compare-contrast essay. You can do the one side at a time, or you can do the point by point, but I highly recommend doing the point by point organization for your refutation. So it kind of works like this. You give point number one of the opposition, and then you refute it, or you poke holes in it, point out the flaws. Then you move on to point number two, and then you refute it. So you're doing point, and then you're doing the refutation. Point, refutation. So you do those one at a time until you've covered all the territory that you need to cover.